Well, before we do another Cool Cars, Interesting People episode, we got to make sure we got a clean car. That's where we're going to get our car washed over at Gas King. Gas King, it's the way to go. This is a 2019 Honda Ridgeline from McFadden Honda. This pickup has a lot of great features like Honda's sensing technology, built-in remote start system, the Garmin navigation system, heated seats, and a heated steering wheel. Under the engine, there's enough power to tow up to 5,000 pounds. This is a great vehicle for camping or tailgating parties. You can crank up your music with an in-bed audio system. Plus, I love the dual-action tailgate. You can open it one way, or there's another way, and there's a trunk where you can put your fishing gear or your golf clubs or that extra slab of meat for the barbecue you're going to. You've also got your multi-view backup camera, front and rear parking sensors, and a 10-way adjustable power driver's seat. This is a great truck to take out on the road where things can be unpredictable. It's perfect for our very special guest, Dory Rossiter, who takes unpredictability and turns it into certainty with her regular weather forecasts on CTV. If you haven't watched her on TV, chances are you've seen her emceeing special events or been on one of the many boards that she volunteers for, or maybe you've seen her singing in a rock and roll band. She does it all and is a true Lethbridge treasure. Dory Rossiter. I'm Mark Campbell, and this is Cool Cars, Interesting People.
I think my ride's here. Woohoo!
Dory, come on in.
Hey, how are you, Mark?
Good.
You're locking me out.
Yes.
This is not a good sign.
Figure, what's the magic word?
He doesn't want me in the vehicle, apparently. Oh, there we are.
Just a thing.
Thank you.
Yeah. Well, you got to earn your way in.
I know. Was there a code or a password or a magic handshake?
No, you just I had to click the right button
Okay.
there.
Okay.
All right. Are you a coffee person?
Decaf.
Are you?
I'm wired enough already.
Okay.
Totally.
All right. Well, let's go do this.
Okay.
I was seeing that, of course, you're at the new location of CTV.
Absolutely.
What precipitated that, and tell us about the move?
Yeah, our chief engineer, Darren Cronlin, what a gem. We are so lucky to have him. But he had just kind of crunched the numbers and figured out that, our environmental footprint was quite big there for the fact that there's only 7 people in our staff now here, and of course Jackie's in Calgary, so that 8 people in total, but we didn't need this huge facility that could probably be much better utilized by, some other firm or
Sure.
whatever. So he did the numbers crunch and talked to our bosses and the powers that be, and we ended up scouting out this area up here, and we just really love it. It's out in the industrial park, but you have to get used to things.
Yeah.
Semis, hello.
Well.
Oh my God, and trains. It's like you're sitting there in the studio and you hear the sound and what the heck is that? It's a train. Oh my gosh. You're really out in the industrial park. But yeah, we love it. The space is nice, and yeah.
They do have aromas out here too.
They have aromas.
But it's the smell of money.
It is the smell of money, and you do adapt, right?
Sure.
You do adapt.
Yeah.
And it's all good. But
Because was that the original place that CTV was in on 13th Street? The original?
I believe so.
Yeah.
I think there might have been one location prior to the 60s, but from the 60s on, my understanding is that's the location. And of course, that's where I was hired.
Yeah. Well, let's go back to you. Go back.
This is not usual for me, Mark. I'm used to doing the interviewing, not being
We'll
the
get
subject.
your own damn show.
Okay.
So, I mean, you started, I understand you're a military brat.
I am proud of it. Army brat. Yeah.
Army? Is it Army? Is that
Army,
what we call
yes.
it? What field of the Army?
Yeah, my dad was, he was with the Lord Strathcona Horse and the Fort Garry
Edmonton,
Horse.
Isn't it? Edmonton?
No, it was Calgary.
Okay.
Yeah, but he started off he signed up for military duty in Regina and went over as a boy soldier and spent his 35 years in the military. Didn't get out when he came back after World War II, and I think the saddest day of my father's life was when he had to be, let out of the military because of he'd reached a certain age and,
wow.
Mandatory retirement, and they gave him a big dinner and everything, and I remember him getting dressed, putting on his blues and everything, going, I don't want to go. I don't want to go. He just loved the military. So then after that, he stayed connected by becoming the cadet liaison for Southern Alberta.
Nice.
And worked with the cadets, which he loved for another 25 years.
So was he was in World War II?
Yes. Yeah, he drove a tank, and then when he got the nickname Doc, his name is actually Charles, but he got the nickname Doc because when he wasn't driving tank and he had his downtime, it's like, he's a bit of an A-type personality, kind of needs to be busy,
Right.
and he drove ambulance and helped bring guys in from the field that were injured. So that's where he got the nickname Doc, and it's stuck to this day.
Was he a veteran who liked to share his stories of the war? Because I know that there's a lot of veterans that come back. They just said, "Yeah, I was there. It was awful." And They don't want to talk about it.
Yeah.
What about your dad?
My dad talks about the camaraderie. He talks about his buddies, but he doesn't talk about any of the fighting, any of the violence.
Yeah.
He doesn't talk about that at all. In fact, I think it scarred him a little bit to the point when, after the war was over and everything. Even going into a hospital was upsetting to him. It was a hard thing for him to do in his civilian life, even after that. So, it took a toll, but it's those camaraderie stories and the guys he went over with and the guys that didn't come back and, the stories that he shared that way.
Where obviously Europe, that's where he was?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Whole time?
Yeah, he was in Italy, he was in Germany, he was in Belgium, he was in Holland, he was in France. He saw a lot of territory.
Did he ever talk about my Uncle Lou?
Yes, he did.
He was over there.
They used to have beers together when they weren't fighting. They'd find a pub and yes, he mentions him.
One of my favorite stories about my Uncle Lou, who fought over in Europe in the Second World War, was years later. I said, "Hey, have you ever think of traveling back over to Europe?" And he said, "No, I was there once. Didn't much care for it."
Yeah. Well, when we went back to Europe, because of course we got posted back to Europe when I was going on 9, and so I was old enough to really appreciate the experience of that whole 4 years that we spent over there. And my dad took us back to all the war places. We went to Normandy and Dieppe.
Oh, really?
Oh yeah, he took us on the tour.
That would have been nice to have been there.
It was really wonderful. I mean, it was a history lesson that you were kind of walking through time, kind of absorbing. And he took us to we went to all the concentration camps. And my father, even though he didn't want to talk about the violence and the atrocities of war, he wanted his family to understand that that's what we were over there fighting for. And it really made an impression on me to the point years later I remember writing papers on the human toll of war.
When you talk concentration camps, you're talking like Auschwitz?
Auschwitz, Bergen-Belsen, Dachau.
Wow.
We went to all of them, and there was nothing as heart-wrenching as to see the scratches of nails, marks for people trying to get out of the gas chambers, trying to claw out the door of the gas chamber. And even on a kid of my age, I was there between 9 and we came back when I was 12 and a half, but it had a huge effect on me.
So, yeah. Okay, so where were you? No, you were born in where, Winnipeg?
I was born in Winnipeg.
Winnipeg.
Was there for 3 months. I have no recollection of Winnipeg.
Yeah.
Although my dad to this day still says, "Remember the car we had in Winnipeg?" No, Dad, I don't remember the car we had in Winnipeg.
But thanks.
But then we went to Neepawa, then we went to Brandon, then we went to Meaford, Ontario, then we went to Camp Borden, then we went to Camp Petawawa, and then we were overseas for 4 years, and we were all over the place.
So what is that? I mean, I often wonder, because I've lived in Lethbridge my whole life. That's it. Lethbridge, never moved. Yeah, moved. Just stayed here. So I don't know what that's like to move as many times, to have to make new friends all the time.
Yeah, and on top of that, be an only child.
Oh, you're an only child.
Yeah, so you don't even have like a sister or brother to start the new year with. And when you rotate in the military, you usually rotate in after Christmas. So the other kids have had from September to January to kind of form these cliques and bonds. And you're walking in cold turkey in January and having to stand up in high class and be introduced by the teacher as the new kid in town.
Yeah.
And what I did to kind of fit in and meld in was I joined like the Glee Club.
Oh,
and the drama club and everything.
Sure,
That was a way to fit in because we were all kind of nerds,
So was there a nerd club? No, I mean a glee club.
It was a nerd club.
In every
Pretty
place?
much,
Yeah?
pretty much. I mean, that was back when it was Department of National Defense schooling. So fortunately, part of their mandate was to make sure that the arts programs were alive and well in the school, which was great at that time, and for kids like me that, kind of wanted to find their niche, that was wonderful. And then not knowing years later I'd be, singing in a rock band and all those things that I learned as a kid, I'd be using in my later years,
Yeah, we'll get to that in a little bit, but I want to keep on with the Dory story of how you got to where how you got to Lethbridge.
Yeah. So I was so we rotated back from Germany to Calgary. So I finished my high school and did some post-secondary there, and then I decided that I wanted to get out of the rat race. And Calgary was experiencing. At that time, they were experiencing kind of a flourish of murders, unfortunately, and violence. And I just decided, there's got to be a better pace to life and a place where you can feel more connected to the community, because Calgary's very, very big.
Yeah.
Very big. And Lethbridge is, if you want to be connected to the community and give back and be on boards and volunteer, it's a good size, a good space to be able to do that.
Absolutely. I don't have a parking spot here, by the way.
Yeah.
I'm going to do this.
Okay, I didn't see that. Mark is making an illegal U-turn, and there's a car watching you.
That's okay.
Okay.
There we go.
You don't know who we are, but I'm waving to you anyway. Yeah. It's Mark and Dory.
Yeah.
Don't get angry.
There we go. All right, hold that thought and we'll go in. Okay, thank you. All right, welcome back to the Jabba the Hutt. Welcome the first time.
Cheers.
Brian, please.
I'm Peachy.
Okay, thank you. All right, we were talking about you getting to Lethbridge. Where were we at? That was so long ago.
Yeah, that was so long ago. It was in the vehicle so long ago. Yeah, so when we rotated back from Europe, we rotated to Calgary.
Yeah,
and
you wanted to get away from the...
So I decided, after I finished my education, I decided, I wanted to have a slower lifestyle, a safer lifestyle. Yeah. Calgary was getting to be a little too big. And I just thought I wanted to be part of a community where I felt like I was part of a community, not just part of a 6-block area or whatever. In Calgary, it's a different kind of lifestyle. People tend to live in one area, shop in one area, work in one area, and there's people that have never been to, if they live on the north side, they've never been to the south side of Calgary, right? So I wanted to be in a community that was a little smaller and a little friendlier and just a little bit more, I don't know, sort of open door policy where if you wanted to belong to a group, you could belong to a group.
How did you know Lethbridge was like that?
Well, I'd been here before.
Okay.
I'd been here for bowling tournaments. When I was in high school, I was a champion bowler in high school, which, yes, I know.
You and Diane Violini.
Yeah, well, no, she's like way, she trumps me totally. This was like luck of the draw. I was at a tournament and I'd been in a league for a few years in high school. It was like, a group of us girls got together, called ourselves the Supremes. That was our bowling name.
Yeah.
And and so I won the junior ladies singles this one year. And so I had been in Lethbridge for different bowling tournaments, and that's how I discovered Lethbridge. And I went, gosh, someday I'm going to live here.
Really?
I didn't know it then.
That
was in high school, but eventually I did make it down here.
Now, when you said you finished your education, or did you go to post-secondary?
No, not in Calgary.
No?
No. When I got down to Lethbridge, then I started studying through Athabasca University.
Oh, good.
So, yeah.
And what did you study? What did you get?
Early childhood education through Athabasca University, and then, but while I was in Calgary, I was actually taking art classes at the U of C. And I was doing some theater artwork through Theater Calgary. So yeah.
Now, when you say art, are you talking like the painting, drawing, or what kind of art?
No, theater art.
Theater art.
Yeah,
very
theater
good.
art.
Yeah.
But I also painted too.
Yeah.
So that was a hobby of mine.
So the day that you got to Lethbridge, what happened? How did you get here?
The day that I got to Lethbridge.
What did you have a job? Were you lined up? Was it ready
Yeah,
to go?
I actually did have a job. It was in the old Lethbridge Centre. They had just finished the construction of it, and I had a job I applied for it in Calgary. They were opening up a store in the Lethbridge Centre Mall, and so I applied for the manager position and got it.
Nice.
So I moved down here for that.
And what store?
And it was called Bojangles. It was a
it
was a little jewelry store.
Yeah.
And so I was the first manager of that store.
In fact, you're wearing some of it, right?
I'm wearing some of the jangle jewelry. Yes, yeah. And then I went on to work for to be a supervisor at Draffin's Pharmacy, and they were in the mall as well.
Yeah.
So I went and I worked there for Draffin's for 10 years. Loved it. Loved Rod and Martha as my bosses.
Yeah.
Great people to work for. And so I had a supervisor position there. And then TV came knocking.
Well, that's how does one go from Draffin's Pharmacy to welcome to the weather?
I was in a uniform, and I went from being in a uniform to being in a studio, which was really interesting. I was asked to do some freelance work for CTV, and it was funny because it was through my involvement with Playgoers of Lethbridge. I was a member of Playgoers and worked on some of their productions, and then they were Lethbridge had a half-hour. Well, Calgary had the half-hour show. Lethbridge had a 10-minute window in the Calgary newscast. And then the powers that be decided, no, Lethbridge should have their own newscast. So they had, they had the sports guy, they had the news anchor, Chris Galis was the news anchor there, and Gene Principe, as he likes to be called now, was the sports guy, and they needed a weather anchor. And so I was asked to come on audition, and it was through my work with Playgoers that someone saw me and figured that I had enough confidence to.
You could emote about the weather.
I can pull it off.
Yeah.
So I spent the next 6 years studying with Environment Canada.
Well, you did.
I did.
Wow.
Yeah. So I went on courses,
Good
took
for you.
exams,
Wow.
did all of that, so that it wasn't just going to be the rip and read weather. I really wanted. So they took me under their wing. And for 6 years, I was at the weather office every day studying. And like I said, every time there was a conference or courses, they would put me on it. So I really got
being
a hands.
Environment Canada or CTV?
Environment Canada, but of course supported by CTV. Go take the courses.
That was back in the days when we had weathermen out there.
Yes, exactly.
Rick Suchak.
And Rick Suchak, yes, exactly. And so when they've eventually cut backs, they cut back weather offices all across the country, as you know. Ours was one of them that got cut, which I still question. We're an agricultural community, like why we need a weather office, but they gave me the sign off their door, and it hangs in my office now.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, very nice.
Yeah. So I took them all out for dinner. CTV paid the bill for the dinner for all the weather people out there.
Yeah.
We went out to Anton's and had a lovely dinner and kind of a send off for them, and
Wow.
and they presented me with the sign from their door.
Oh, that's pretty nice.
Yeah. It kind of chokes me up even thinking about it now, because they became friends after 6 years of working with them every single day and learning my craft.
What is the big thing you learned about doing weather?
The big thing about doing weather is, even though it's going to be horrible and you'd like to fudge it and make people feel warm and fuzzy, don't.
Yeah.
Just give it to people as it lays. Just tell them you're just the reporter.
You are the
right?
messenger,
You're just
yeah.
the messenger.
Yeah.
Yeah. Don't shoot me. Just give it to them. They can handle it. They might. I'm surprised how some people think that I actually have weather control, and I'm sure you found that too when you were doing weather. People go, "Can't you do something about this weather?" But I think it's just the jovial nature of people. They need to vent.
Yep.
They need to vent.
For
so we're big enough. We can take it, right?
Yeah. No. So it was I mean, how long you been at CTV now?
I start my 31st year on April
Wow,
5th.
that's amazing.
Yeah.
Wow. And
Yeah.
between you and Terry Vogt, holy cow.
Yeah. Terry's got 2 years more than me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
At CTV.
At CTV.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then of course he did radio before
Yeah.
that too, right?
For sure.
So.
Yeah. Well, you must, you were just talking about people like Chris Galis,
Yep.
who's now working in Vancouver.
Yes.
Gene Principe
Yep.
is working the Oilers broadcast.
Yep.
There's been some really top-notch people that have gone through Lethbridge.
Yeah, we've had some really good people. I can say I knew them when sort of
Yeah,
thing. So
yeah.
with Chris, when Chris was here, he was such a cut up.
Yeah.
And so much fun. And so was Gene too.
Yeah.
They were really great guys, and they took me as the new kid on the block. They took me under their wings and were treating me like their little sister kind of thing, and
Yeah.
sort of protecting me.
Yeah,
It was a
Well, you
great
gave
experience.
me my break in TV.
you filled in for me
I
on
did.
weather. Yes.
As I was filling in for you, I got a call from Global.
I know.
And they said you
Turncoat.
Yeah, yes, right.
No.
full time.
It's all good. It's all good.
But so thank you for that.
No.
That I was able to get my feet wet a little bit, and then it was one of those periods of time where I was able to get that job, and that was 20 years.
Well, and I can understand them hiring you because for sure, because you need someone is not going to faint when the red light goes on. You need someone that can kind of carry it, right? And when things go wrong, which they do. Technological wise, right? Technology is not always kind. I mean, I've had things where, lightning struck the tower one day, all the monitors went dead except the camera was still on me and it was still broadcasting. So I had to do the whole thing. Okay, if the lights were on, this is what you would see. This is Alberta. Do the whole thing kind of miming it, right? But it happens, and you've got content to fill, and you can't freeze.
No, you can't. No, that's true.
Yeah.
Do you still enjoy the weather aspect?
Oh, I love my job. I just think, I don't know who said it. Someone said if you love going to work every day, you're not really going to work.
I think Wayne Newton.
Someone, yes. Yeah, Wayne Newton, while he had hair. Yeah. But and that's how I feel. I just feel every day I get up, it's like, oh, okay, I got this to do today, I got that to do today. And I mean, you can ask my husband, it's like, I can't get out the door fast enough in the morning. Not that I don't like to spend time with him. I do.
Let's qualify that, yeah.
I do like to spend time with him, but I love going to work. I love being a part of this community. And I feel really blessed that these people tell me their stories. They come and they sit and they talk, and I just feel really honored to be able to, and giving back to the community, being part of all the boards. And
let's talk about that. I mean, because you do your weather, you do your Dory story, which gets out into the community, and then doing the boards. How many boards are you on right now? What are you doing?
I'm on 3 boards currently and 12 committee and subcommittee right now. So
Really?
So over the 30 plus years, I've been on over 50 boards and over 70 committees.
So total. You understand governance.
That's part. Right now I'm on an HR committee, but I have been on governance committees and kind of run the full gambit.
Yeah.
But I like it. I like the wordsmithing of policy, creating policy and working towards outcomes and strategic planning and all that boring stuff that some people think is boring. I find that's the core of how boards and committees run. They have to have that structure in order to function. Right?
So when are you running for council?
Oh, I don't think anyone wants me making the kind of decisions you have to make, Mark. That's it, yeah. How's that going for you, by the way?
Excuse me? Sorry.
Will I be seeing you on a panel at the end of the year?
Well, it's that this is not about me today.
Okay,
so.
yeah. In other words, don't ask questions, Dory. I got it.
No, but did you ever entertain the thought of I want to get to the next level? In terms of bigger network like the CTV network. Were you ever approached? Did you try to?
I've been approached.
Yeah.
I've been approached. Happy where I am.
Yeah. No second thought.
I'm a nice sized fish in a nice sized pond.
Yeah.
Any
does that ever come up and say, well, maybe I like to be a little in a bigger pond? No.
No. I like it. A bigger pond means that also too is that you can't be as involved in the community if you're in a bigger market, right?
Yeah.
And that's the trade-off. Do you want to be in the station, totally in the station, and that is your entire focus, or do you want to be able to blend your station life with your community work life? And that's what I'm able to do by being on all these boards. Of course, I'm able to scout for stories for my Dory Story features and highlight things in the community that I think are important that maybe are underreported.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what Dory Story is. It kind of catches things. It's not hard news, but it's important things to people that are trying to make a difference in the community. So to be able to tell those stories, I figure that's kind of my
and what's
purpose
nice
in life.
It's what's nice is when you show up with the camera, they like to see you there, rather than get that camera out of my face.
Exactly.
No, so
people
important.
smile when they see me.
Well, that's nice.
It's not.
Good for you. Now let's. We were kind of touched on it. You're in a rock and roll band.
I know.
What the hell?
I know. It's I never thought. Well, for about 11 years now, I've been doing it. We've had some people changes in our bands over the years as bands evolve, but the core of us, there's a few of us that have been together for 11 years. So we are now called Horizon. We've been Horizon for about 2.5 years now. And yeah, and we're just having fun. It's a hobby. We've got a university professor, we've got an engineer, we've got a school bus driver, you know, all these people with different jobs, and me in television. And then we all come together to make music and have this happy hobby, which also allows us, again, to use the connection that I have to the community to be able to go and do charity events.
Yeah, sure.
Where we donate our time, we don't charge a fee, and we play for these events, you know, and give back to the community that way. So it all kind of, you know, it all kind of blends together. But I never thought I'd be singing rock and roll.
So what kind of, like, when you were talking rock and roll, what are we talking? What songs? Give me a song.
Okay, so I do Bruce Springsteen.
You do?
Which is kind of the interesting thing, is that I'm the female singer, and I'm doing these male rock and roll. I do Bryan Adams and Bruce Springsteen, a little bit of Mick Jagger.
Really?
Yeah, Joan Jett, some real rock and roll stuff.
Shut the front door.
I know. Stevie Nicks. Yeah, we do a lot. We do a lot of stuff. So we're getting ready we're playing at the casino. So we're really excited about that.
Yeah.
So we've been working on our sets for the upcoming casino gig.
Yeah.
And
Wow. What's your favorite song? What's your go-to song? If they said, Dory, I need give us your best song.
Black Velvet.
Atlanta Miles.
Yeah, that's probably would be my go-to song if I had to.
Yeah. Oh, nice.
Had to pull out one, but I like them all. I like them all. It's hard to pick.
So, Dory Rossiter, what is something that people don't know about you that we should know? Here, let's throw that at you.
I presented flowers to Queen Elizabeth when I was.
Yes,
I did.
Talk about that. How did that happen?
Yeah, when we were stationed in Germany with my dad through the military. She was doing a tour of Germany, and different, Cub Scouts, Brownies, Girl Scouts, different school organization groups and whatnot were going to be going to the place where she was going to be coming through Germany and lining the streets and whatnot. And different groups had the opportunity to present flowers, a few groups. And one of the groups was from Hamer, where I was situated with my family. One person was allowed to present roses to the Queen, and so I was the lucky, although at the time I was so scared, the lucky person that got to present roses to the Queen.
How old were you?
I would have been 10 at that point. Yeah.
So talk about when they said, "Here's what you have to do."
Yes.
Protocol. Do blah, 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 blah.
They take you into a separate room with your parents, and they have some protocol person from Queen Elizabeth's home office, I guess, I don't know, and they brought this person in and said, "Okay, you can't touch her. If she reaches out to touch your hand, then you can, but you can't touch her. You don't speak first. You let her speak first." And the thing that threw me more than anything was learning to curtsy.
You had to curtsy.
You had to curtsy, and I mean, you're a 10-year-old kid in a Girl Guide uniform, and okay, is it this leg? Do I bend here? Am I going to trip? I can remember the night before literally not being able to get to sleep because I thought, if I curtsy and I bend too far and I fall over and I accidentally touch her, are they going to jail me?
Yeah.
Like, what happens if I accidentally lose my balance, grab the Queen? That was my nightmare, right? So,
grab her boob.
Can you imagine? So I thought, oh my gosh, my parents are going to be embarrassed. I'm going to be in jail. We're going to get,
So how did it go?
I think it went very well.
Did she talk to you?
She actually talked to me, and I'll tell you why. Because my grandmother was born in Maidenhead, England, and she was a nurse, and she came over, immigrated to Canada, and married my grandfather, who was an RCMP officer. During the coronation, she was already over in Canada, but her sister was in London, and they were handing out little tin souvenir pins with the Queen's picture.
Is that Margaret? Was it Margaret, her sister?
No, my grandma's sister.
Oh, your grandma. Oh, sorry.
Yes.
I thought. Okay,
yes.
pardon me. Sorry.
Yeah, my grandma's sister.
Sorry.
Could have been Margaret.
Yeah.
Don't know. So she managed to get a pin, sent it to my grandmother,
okay.
and my grandmother eventually gave it to me because I liked to dress up with jewelry and stuff when I was a little kid at her house. So she gave it to me. My mother pinned it on my Girl Guide uniform when I was going to be presenting, which was actually a no-no. You're not supposed to add anything to the unit.
Now you're in trouble.
Yeah, now I'm in trouble. But anyway, I managed to get it, and the Queen saw the pin and said, "I remember that," and touched the pin.
She touched you. She didn't
yeah,
ask.
She didn't. Yeah, and she didn't ask. I would have said yes. It was fine.
That's good. Did you respond to her?
I don't remember that. I think I was so tongue-tied and just still worrying about, okay, am I doing anything wrong?
What kind of flowers were they?
They were red roses.
They were red roses. You gave them to her. She took them.
Yeah.
And she tossed them off to someone else.
Gave them to someone else. And,
I always wonder with all of this protocol and all of the royalty that goes over. I just wonder if the Queen just couldn't care less about the protocol and just say, hello, hi, touch me, whatever. Of course, Donald Trump doesn't care. But anyway,
yeah,
that's
a whole other. That's a whole other.
But
story.
that's kind of a cool thing.
That's kind of cool.
Nice.
Yeah.
So here we are, as we talk about, as you think about your career in Lethbridge and what you've done, what comes to mind as being one of those, I'm so happy that I got to do that, or I got to talk to this person and I changed this. What are some of the things some of the highlights in your 65 years here?
65 going on 66 years. No, I think some of the really important things were not even famous people, although I really did enjoy spending 2 hours with the Bare Naked Ladies.
Oh, did you?
That was fun, yes.
Yeah,
that was
cool.
Before they were really big. They were on a small little tour, and I went and interviewed them, and they just had all the time in the world to talk to me. That was fun. And talking to Randy Bachman for a couple of hours in the studio. That was great. Meeting prime ministers, meeting people that I wouldn't not have had a chance to meet had I not been in television. I've been afforded a really, really, good series of opportunities. But it's not even the famous people. It's being able to talk to someone who's has a child who's going through cancer and chemotherapy, and being able to do a story on that, and then keeping in touch with them, and then finding out 3 or 4 years later that they were in remission.
Yeah,
and those are the gems of things. And I remember when I joined the board at the YWCA, and we were having our tour, and they were taking us through the Harbour House area where women and children, it's not good circumstances that they end up there. And I remember we were having our tour, and there was a woman and her little boy were being taken in to Harbour House. He only had pajamas on. They'd left with what they had on their bodies, and he had no shoes on. And I had a chocolate bar in my pocket, like an energy bar, in the pocket of my coat, and he came up, and he must have seen it come poking out, and he came out, and I turned to the mother, and I said, is it okay if I give it to him? And she said, yes, that would be lovely. And I talked to him for a little bit while we were on our tour, and then we had to go. And then 10 years later, I got a letter from the mother.
Really?
Yeah, that she had moved to Vancouver, got back into the workforce, got back in post-secondary education, and she was studying to be a biologist, and she remembered that chocolate bar.
Wow.
She remembered that. See, those are the gems.
Yeah.
Those are the gems. It's not the big splashy stuff. It's those little stories that kind of tug at your heartstrings. And those are the things, when I'm 95, I'm going to look back and go, yeah.
So was that next year?
Yeah. Sometimes it feels like it.
Sorry.
You're editing this, right? Yeah. Can I punch the host at this point? Yeah.
I say that because I know you can take it. But so, I guess as we wrap this up, what comes to mind about life? Do you have a philosophy?
I think volunteering and giving back to your community and being a part of it is the rent you pay for living in a wonderful community like Lethbridge. And Lethbridge has its challenges, we know that. It has, and certainly you sitting on City Council, I mean, you know that. We have challenges, we hear about them all the time. But we have a core of people in this city that are caring, loving, wonderful people that are trying to make a difference every day of their lives. And that's what I'm glad to be part of.
Great. Dory, thank you so much.
Cheers.
Thanks for Mark's story.
Thank you for making me totally uncomfortable being interviewed. I appreciate it.
Yay.
Oh, I've got something for you, though.
Uh-oh, wait a minute.
You took me in a nice car. I have a nice car for your little desk. For your
Right.
Yeah, when we were in
I love that.
We were in a celebrity drag race, and I had my choice of cars that I could be in with a driver, and I chose the Charger.
Beautiful. Thank you very much.
You're
Cheers.
very welcome. Cheers.
Cheers.
Yeah.
Thank you.